Someone just paid $2,000 for a dead refrigerator. Compressor seized. Door seals cracked. Over 30 years old. After a professional rebuild, that same Sub-Zero will sell for $4,000 or more. This isn't nostalgia. This is an analog loophole. A narrow engineering window in the 80s and 90s when American appliances were modern enough to be practical and mechanical enough to be rebuilt part by part, decade after decade. That window is closed now, and what replaced it is costing you far more than you think. This analog loophole isn't a secret corporate conspiracy, it is a mechanical side effect of regulatory history. In 1992, the Environmental Protection Agency launched the Energy Star program, codifying a wave of federal pressure to slash household energy and water consumption. Appliance manufacturers had to adapt quickly, but in the early 90s, the digital revolution hadn't yet hollowed out heavy manufacturing. Under the hood, engineers solved these efficiency mandates using classical physics rather than complex software. Appliances from this era still relied on physical architecture, heavy-duty mechanical timers, brass contact switches, discrete relays, and repairable induction motors. Because these parts operated independently, they could be diagnosed with a basic multimeter and replaced individually. You got the best of both worlds, highly optimized, resource-efficient machines that were still built like industrial hardware rather than fragile consumer electronics. The ownership consequence was clear. When a single contact inside a mechanical cycle timer failed, you didn't throw the entire machine into a landfill or pay half its value for a proprietary control board. You swapped a $20 component and bought yourself another decade of service. But once manufacturers traded physical switches for printed circuit boards, the basic math of household repair was permanently broken. And nowhere is that broken math more punishing than in the luxury built-in refrigerator sitting in your kitchen wall. Pop off the console of a modern washing machine and you won't find a network of durable mechanical switches. Instead, you'll find a single green printed circuit board. This motherboard acts as a digital bottleneck, governing everything from the water inlet, valves, and the drain pump to the drum spin, the lid lock, and the temperature sensors. In an environment constantly subjected to high heat, moisture, violent vibrations, and household power surges, this delicate piece of silicon remains highly vulnerable. When a single microscopic solder joint cracks or a capacitor pops, the entire machine dies instantly. The heavy-duty motor, the stainless steel tub, and the water pump are all completely healthy, but they are rendered useless because their electronic brain is dead. A replacement control board regularly runs between $170 and $300. That is just the price of the part shipped in a cardboard box before paying a technician to install it. On some newer machines, manufacturers split these tasks across 2 or even 3 separate boards, compounding the risk of failure. The financial reality is direct. A minor electrical hiccup turns a basic repair into a $300 gamble, forcing homeowners to scrap a physically perfect machine because of a proprietary piece of silicon. An electromechanical timer from a washer from the 1990s works on entirely different logic. Inside the plastic housing sits a physical program, a tiny synchronous motor turning a shaft lined with precisely molded cams. As the shaft rotates, these plastic ridges physically push copper contact points together, routing 120 volts of electricity directly to the water valve, the drive motor, or the drain pump. There is no software layer to crash, no firmware to freeze. If the machine stops filling, a technician does not throw away the timer. They use a basic multimeter to check the contact for the water inlet valve. If the valve has voltage but no water enters, you replace the $20 valve, not the entire controller. This physical architecture isolates failures. A single burned copper contact might disable one specific spin cycle, but it leaves the rest of the machine completely functional. For the owner, this mechanical transparency keeps repairs cheap and highly predictable. You never scrap a 300-pound steel machine because of a single diagnostic mystery. The classic Whirlpool and Kenmore direct drive washers from this era prove how elegant modular engineering can be. Under the tub, you won't find an interconnected mess of cheap plastic gears. You find a layout where the motor, pump, clutch, and gear case are distinct, isolated components. Sitting directly between the motor and the transmission is a 3-pronged plastic and rubber ring, part number 285753A. It is engineered for a single purpose: to fail. If a heavy rug jams the spin basket or the transmission locks up, this plastic coupler shears in half. It is a deliberate, sacrificial barrier. By cracking under stress, it absorbs the kinetic energy of the jam, instantly sparing the expensive motor windings and bearings from burning out. An OEM replacement coupling costs $15 to $25, with base parts retailing online for under $9. It takes 20 minutes to swap, because a designer decided a cheap plastic disc should die so that a rugged motor could live. A major mechanical jam remains a $10 fix instead of a trip to the scrapyard. But this level of mechanical self-preservation didn't just disappear, it was actively regulated out of existence. The old Maytag Dependable Care and LAT series washers succeeded because of their architecture, operating as repairability service platforms. Under the hood, they use serviceable belts, individual brake packages, dual bearing shafts, and rugged mechanical timers. If a bearing wore out or a belt snapped, you opened the factory repair manual, followed the step-by-step teardown procedure, and swapped that specific $10 part. Do not let brand nostalgia blind you. In its final years, Maytag began installing fragile electronic control boards in its own machines, proving that a brand logo guarantees nothing. You must evaluate the physical architecture, not the badge on the front. The definitive end of this design era arrived in April 2006, when Whirlpool completed its acquisition of Maytag. By 2007, the historic manufacturing plant in Newton, Iowa, was shut down, displacing roughly 1,800 workers and ending a century of domestic engineering. This corporate consolidation permanently retired a repair-first manufacturing culture. Today, that loss becomes painfully clear the moment you examine how modern manufacturers handle the simplest task in your kitchen: washing a plate. Pull the door down on a KitchenAid dishwasher from the mid-1990s. You won't find optical soil sensors or microprocessors trying to calculate water clarity. Instead, a heavy mechanical dial timer sends line voltage directly to a high-pressure wash pump and an exposed heating element. The normal cycle finished in 60 to 65 minutes. This speed wasn't a miracle of green engineering, it was brute force. The machine used about 7.5 gallons of hot water to blast grease away quickly. Today's machines run for 3 hours, trickling tiny pools of water over your plates to meet modern efficiency standards. This older design is not universally superior. If you run multiple loads daily, your utility bills will reflect the extra hot water. But consider the ownership consequence of the old design. It relied on a simple, removable ether strainer you cleared by hand in 10 seconds, not an ultra-fine internal filter that slowly clogs and burns out a $200 circulation pump. When the old heating element finally died, you didn't scrap the unit. You bought a $30 replacement part, swapped it in 15 minutes, and kept the machine out of the landfill. How did we go from 60-minute cycles to 3-hour marathons? It is a direct reaction to tightening federal resource limits. For years, the Department of Energy capped standard dishwashers at 5 gallons per cycle, but new standards slated for compliance in April 2027 slashed that limit to just 3.3 gallons. To clean a full load of dishes with less than half the water of a 1990s machine, manufacturers had to change the physics of washing. Instead of blasting grease away with continuous high-volume hot water, modern machines must trickle a tiny puddle, repeatedly pumping, filtering, and resensing it over hours. In 2020, the Department of Energy tried to bypass this limitation, creating a separate short-cycle class for dishwashers that could wash and dry in under 60 minutes. By 2022, that rule was officially revoked. For the owner, this forced efficiency carries a hidden tax. Running a circulation pump for 3 hours instead of 1 triples the mechanical runtime on every single load. You save pennies on your water bill, only to face a $300 bill when the overworked pump motor burns out years ahead of schedule. A standard freestanding refrigerator is a disposable box. When it dies, you slide it out and roll a new one in. But a classic Sub-Zero 500 series is a structural architectural anchor. Built between 36 and 48 inches wide and standing 84 inches tall, these units were integrated directly into custom-fitted kitchen cabinetry. The manufacturer didn't treat these machines as sealed, black box appliances. The official 1999 service literature reads like an industrial blueprint, packed with complete wiring diagrams, airflow data, and step-by-step instructions for stripping down and rebuilding every single component. Because of this design, the massive steel cabinet shell, the heavy doors, and the custom decorative panels matching the surrounding kitchen remain completely undisturbed during service. Everything is accessible. When the compressor or evaporator coil fails on an older 500 series, you don't throw away the machine or tear up your kitchen. You rebuild the sealed system from the front-facing mechanical grill. Replacing a dead unit with a modern built-in requires more than just buying a new machine. It forces you to alter custom cabinetry, pay for premium installation, and struggle to match decades-old woodwork. Keeping this physical platform alive bypasses a massive structural headache, turning a potential $10,000 kitchen remodel into a straightforward mechanical repair. If you replace the compressor, the evaporator coil, the fan motors, the thermostat, and the door gaskets on a 30-year-old Sub-Zero, is it still the same refrigerator? Philosophers call this the ship of Theseus. As a technician, I call it common sense. The heavy steel cabinet and the structural frame are the actual machine. The moving parts are just wear items designed to be swapped when they eventually die. Modern appliance design completely rejects this logic. Today, a microscopic refrigerant leak buried inside unserviceable cabinet foam or a single discontinued control board condemns a modern $3,000 unit straight to the landfill. In contrast, on a classic built-in platform, investing $3,000 to $5,000 for a complete professional rebuild is a calculated financial victory. A brand new premium built-in costs $11,000 to $12,000, and that is before you pay a contractor to tear out and remodel your custom kitchen cabinetry to fit a modern footprint. This structural permanence is why professionally reconditioned legacy Sub-Zero units easily command $4,000 or more on the secondary market. You are not paying for nostalgia. You are buying a rebuildable steel machine that refuses to participate in a throwaway economy. Do not get fooled by visible brass screws or a clean retro cabinet. Aesthetic durability is a trap. Before you buy an old machine on a classified listing or save one from a kitchen remodel, you must run it through the parts shelf test. Open a browser and search the exact model number. Do not rely on brand reputation. Check if the replacement timer, the water pump, the drive motor, and the main tub seals are still actively stocked by suppliers. If these essential components are discontinued, that machine is already living on borrowed time. In 2021, the Federal Trade Commission released its Nixing the Fix report, documenting how manufacturers restrict access to parts and documentation. If you skip this verification, a single failed seal turns your $300 vintage find into a heavy steel paperweight. But parts are only half the math. Unlike a washing machine, a refrigerator runs 24 hours a day, demanding a much harsher financial test. Energy Star data shows a typical 1990s refrigerator consumes about 35% more electricity than a modern certified model. Before you commit to a restoration, plug the machine into an energy monitor for a week to calculate the actual operating cost. Then, check the compressor. If the sealed system is dead, you face a regulatory wall. The EPA banned venting ozone-depleting refrigerants on July 1, 1992, and phased out CFC production entirely by January 1, 1996. If you buy a machine running obsolete R12 without verifying the compressor's health or securing a licensed technician who still services legacy systems, you are buying an expensive environmental liability, not a bargain. If you want to step off the disposable appliance treadmill, you need a hard protocol. No machine is automatically safe. Focus your search on rebuildable platforms. Whirlpool direct drive, top loads, timer-controlled Maytag, dependable care, washers, Sub-Zero 500 series built-ins with documented service records, dial-controlled KitchenAid dishwashers, and basic electric dryers with replaceable belts and rollers. But never buy based on age, color, or brand reputation alone. Run every machine through a strict 7-step screen. Step 1. Find the exact model number. Step 2. Confirm the service manual exists. Step 3. Verify that the physical timer, pump, motor, and main seals are currently in stock with suppliers. Step 4. Check actual energy use. Step 5. For refrigerators, verify the compressor runs cold and the sealed system is intact. Step 6. Calculate the total rebuild cost against a modern replacement and cabinet alterations. Step 7. Buy only if a realistic repair to resale path exists. Skip even one step, and your cheap vintage find becomes an unrepairable steel liability. This isn't about nostalgia, it's about refusal. It's refusing to accept a disposable economy where a single fried microchip turns a $2,000 investment into landfill. Keeping these repairable platforms running isn't retro, it's the only logical way to opt out of planned obsolescence. The next time your appliance fails, ask yourself, do you own your machine or does it own you? Join the conversation in the comments.